Let him hang!
The story begins in 1878 in a territory called Montana. Back then, Colton Briggs was famous for his past as a legendary gunslinger, but his life changed radically due to the influence of his wife, Ruth. Now he is a man devoted to his family. He manages a general store and a small farm, while raising his 12-year-old daughter, Brooke. One morning, Ruth asks Colton to take their daughter to school since she has many chores to attend to. At first, he refuses, stating that men do not accompany children on that route, but Ruth insists that it is important for them to spend more time together. Finally, he agrees, albeit reluctantly. On the way, Brooke suggests riding a horse, but Colton rejects it, saying that there is no time to make stops. Upon arriving at the school, they discover that the teacher is sick and that classes are canceled. Colton tells Brooke to walk home alone, but she reminds him that this is not allowed by her mother, so he decides to take her with him to the store. There, Jeffries, a very talkative customer, enters. Colton, trying to hide his annoyance, asks him what he wants. After a brief chat, Jeffries asks for flour. When Colton goes up the stairs, Jeffries tries to steal jelly beans, not noticing that Brooke is watching him. Embarrassed, he puts them back in their place and gestures for her to keep quiet. When Jeffries leaves, Brooke tells Colton what happened, pointing to Jeffries' muddy hands. Meanwhile, at their home, Ruth is approached by 4 men, led by James McAllister, who introduces himself politely and claims that they are lost. She sends them toward the nearest town, but soon their intentions turn dark. When they advance, Ruth flees toward the stable. The men pursue her. Eustace becomes uneasy, saying that they should leave before the marshal arrives, but Woods calms him down. Suddenly, Ruth appears galloping on her horse, but James shoots the animal. This causes her to fall before being captured. Upon noticing a saddle with the name Colton Briggs, James asks if Ruth is his wife. Eustace recognizes the last name, realizing that they have unleashed a true demon. Without showing he is affected, James claims that he owes a debt to Colton. When Briggs and Brooke return to their property, they find strangers on the premises. Marshal Franklin Jarrett approaches, surprised to see that Colton has a family. He informs him that Ruth was murdered by the men after that. Briggs digs Ruth's grave alone, refusing help from the posse. Jarrett consoles Brooke, telling her that in the past he knew her father, whom he described as the coldest killer he ever saw in his life, but he praises her mother for having turned him into a man of nobility. Brooke, in silence, says that she has never seen her father use a weapon and asks if he can still be a good person without her mother. Jarrett does not answer her. After burying Ruth, Colton goes back to digging on his own, and the marshal warns him not to let Brooke see the mess in the stable. Briggs asks for the names of the killers and what fate awaits them, but Jarrett refuses, saying that the world is better off without the old Colton Briggs. He reminds him that his daughter needs a father and vows to catch and hang him. After they leave, Briggs enters the stable and finds a bloody handprint on Ruth's saddle. Following another stain, he finds words scrawled on the wall in his own blood, "I owe you more." That night, Colton takes an old pistol out of a box. Struggling with his feelings, he points it toward his sleeping daughter, but she stirs and says, "Dad, Mom wouldn't like you pointing a gun at me." He lowers the pistol and she goes back to sleep. Later, he wakes her up and asks her to get ready. Before leaving, he burns the house and the stable. The next day, while they are riding, Brooke asks him why he destroyed everything. Colton responds that they will not be able to return, but that when he finishes, he will build a new life and replace everything he lost in the fire. She, in silence, says, "Except Mom." Then, while they rest, he explains that they will eat and sleep in periods of 30 minutes every 4 hours. Brooke protests, saying that the killers will get further away, but he explains that there is no point in arriving nearly dead or without strength on horseback. On the canyon trail, Marshal Jarrett wonders why Brooke shows no emotion after losing her mother. His deputy Mark suggests that perhaps she is in shock or that she does not yet understand the loss. Suddenly, James and his gang ambush them from the hills, killing several men in the process. By mistake, believing that Colton joined the gang, James orders his men to recognize him when they see him and then retreats. Elsewhere, Colton wakes up Brooke and tells her that he heard gunfire in the canyon 10 minutes ago. When she asks why he did not wake her up sooner, he responds calmly that there is no rush and that they will soon know what happened. Meanwhile, James hits Boots for shooting too soon. His plan was to shoot the marshal first, but Boots' mistake allowed the officer to defend himself. Later, Colton detects the proximity of a rider and prepares to kill, looking for his horse. Brooke protests, saying that he could be a lawman and that her mother would not like him doing that. She asks if there is another option. Reluctant, Colton agrees and tells her to distract the rider by crying. When she admits that she does not know how, he responds harshly that she must learn if she wants to survive in that world. Brooke forces herself to cry without emotion. As the wounded deputy, Mark, approaches, Colton takes a weapon from him. Using Mark as bait, they ambush Marshal Jarrett and another wounded man, Greg. With pistol in hand, Brooke asks Greg to hand over his weapon, but he refuses, threatening her with death. While he threatens her and Colton, Brooke steps on Greg's wounded leg, forcing him to drop the pistol, which she quickly grabs. After freeing their friends, Marshal Jarrett acknowledges that he understands their pain, but warns that attacking a United States Marshal is a grave mistake. Colton responds that Jarrett hid the names of the killers from him. Taking a torture session on Mark, Colton forces Jarrett to finally reveal the truth. The killer is James McAllister, and he is accompanied by 3 other men. The stage is set for their pursuit across the frontier. It is rumored that James promised money in a safe if they managed to escape from the Powell County prison. Now they are traveling toward Colorado in search of a girl in Santa Rosa. To teach Brooke, Colton tends to Mark's gunshot wound, extracting the bullet and cauterizing the wound with a hot iron, saying that the bullet was poisoning him. Brooke wrinkles her nose at the smell, comparing it to her mother's rabbit soup, and says that it makes her hungry. Then he mounts their horses, but insists that he is not a thief. He will leave the horses in Santa Rosa tied up. Meanwhile, James keeps his promise and his men dig up the safe, only to find it filled with Mexican money. Upon protesting, James points his gun at them and says that if he wanted to deceive them, they would already be dead. He orders them to stay quiet for a year, ensuring that the loot is enough to live in luxury. When Woods asks about Briggs, James replies they won't search for him. Briggs will come to them, chillingly ensuring that his plan is already underway. Upon arriving in Santa Rosa, the gang settles in. Eustace is worried about the sheriff, but James says that he already cut the telegraph line, ensuring that they have 4 days before the news spreads. He orders his men to take turns keeping watch every 4 hours. That night, while Colton and Brooke rest, she asks him if he has really changed after meeting her mother. Colton admits that he was always a cold and brave person, without many emotions. He did not even cry at his own mother's funeral, but after meeting Ruth, something changed in him. Now he has fear of losing her and of not being loved. For the first time, he truly loves someone. Brooke, in silence, confesses that she did not feel anything when her mother died, only emptiness. Colton counsels her by saying that a part of him also ceased to exist and that pain never disappears. When she asks him who killed Ruth, he admits that he does not know who James McAllister is. Later, Brooke asks to learn how to handle a weapon. Colton agrees, and the next day, she practices with a rifle, although she fails to hit the target even once.
Reach with your whole hand.
Then, a gun. Outside of Santa Rosa, Colton watches the only entrance road, aware that James is watching him. He knows that one of his men will recognize him. Brooke suggests that it would be better if it were her instead, since they do not know her. Following his instructions, she gets on a horse and enters the town. She goes straight to the store, buys provisions, and asks if any rider has passed through there recently. But upon leaving, James and his gang wait for her. Having recognized the saddle, they capture her and take her to the main saloon. James offers her food, which she rejects, and orders Woods and Eustace to prepare an ambush for Colton. James reveals the history of his family. 20 years ago, his father, Walter McAllister, a famous bandit, tried to stop his brother's execution, and in that bloody confrontation Walter was killed, leaving James, still a child, as the only survivor, along with Colton Briggs, who simply mounted his horse and left. While James talks to Brooke, he fills the safe with newspapers, hiding the true fortune in saddlebags. Outside, Big Mike watches Colton approach and hides in a nearby building. The ambush arrives, and Colton uses him as bait to stab him in the back. Afterward, he kills Boots, but Eustace shoots him in the leg and approaches to finish him off. James drags Brooke by the hand, pointing his weapon at her. Eustace, frustrated for not having killed him yet, boasts that he did shoot, although he only grazed him. James sends 2 other men to capture Colton, but he kills them without difficulty. He challenges James to settle it his way while keeping Brooke under threat of death. Wounded, Colton comes out of his hiding place. James asks him if he remembers him, but he says no. With an irritated expression, James tells him that he only has two options left: kill him, with the consequence that Brooke will die too, or do it himself. Colton chooses his fate. You fire, releasing Brooke. However, at that very moment, James shoots Colton in the chest. While James boasts about having killed the legendary Briggs, Brooke shoots him with her father's pistol, wounding him in the chest and in the head with 2 bullets. In his final moments, Colton hands Brooke a locket with a photo of Ruth, whispering to her that her mother will guide her forever. Brooke cries inconsolably while he passes away. Then, Marshal Jarrett arrives with his men to collect the bodies. An officer recovers the safe from the saloon, but James's saddlebags remain hidden somewhere. Jarrett agrees with Brooke that it is best to make people believe that Colton died as a hero, gunned down by the gang, and he keeps the criminals' money without suspecting that the true fortune still lies in those bags. As they ride away, Brooke quietly asks a woman to bring out James's bags from inside, and she smiles when she sees them. If you've made it this far, why not click on the video I'm recommending next? I promise you, you're really going to love it.